Hi, welcome to Time for Healing with Marion Porter. Her guest today, my lovely wife, Jeanne.
Hey, that was an awesome opening, wasn't that?
That was great.
Yeah. All right. I am so glad you were on my show. I've been looking forward to this since the day I met you.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yay. Well, thank you for coming. So you are a plant-based cooking consultant and a personal chef.
Yes.
Amongst other things, but wow. So what does all that mean?
So it means that I left a 29-year career last year after doing a whole bunch of certification programs over the past 5 or 6 years, including plant-based nutrition, sustainable nutrition, organic gardening, macrobiotic health coaching, and I'm a practicing vegan. And so I've brought all of my passions and my loves and my training, and I've melded it into my own little career. And I put a spin on the plant-based personal chef by focusing a lot on macrobiotics and our 5 seasons. And that's what I teach, and that's how I cook at home.
Macrobiotics and the 5 seasons. What is that?
So macrobiotics follows the 5-season approach, which is also common in traditional Chinese medicine.
5 seasons?
5. So
Not
we have
4?
late summer is one of them. So we have summer, and then we have late summer, fall, winter, and spring.
Late summer?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So I have one of these charts that kind of brings things into play and helps you visualize it better. So both in macrobiotics and traditional Chinese medicine, each season has an energy to it. It has corresponding organs within our body that are associated with it, emotions, and then different foods to nourish the organs.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Who knew?
I know. It's exciting. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so the thought is that if we adapt our daily living practices and what we eat with each season, just like you change your clothes for a season, you get ready for spring cleaning, prepare for summer, get out your, summer clothes, prepare for fall, get out your sweaters and scarves. If we do the same thing in our kitchen, then we are healthier. So that's what I base all of my cooking on.
Wow. So we're in the winter time now.
We're in the winter time, and I brought a display for winter, and winter is associated with the bladder and the kidneys and also our bones.
Really?
And with the salty taste. So that's why we have seaweed here. Oh. And then we have things associated with colors black and blue or purple.
But you said salty taste?
Salty taste.
That's really weird because I have been craving salt lately.
Interesting.
Like potato chips, probably not the way to get it. But don't have any of those here, do you?
No.
No, but that's curious. So I was like wondering what that was all about, and you could just so what would the saltiness contribute to?
Well, it's also known as the water element, and so the salt is a craving and a taste we have, and so my approach with being plant-based is to also be whole food based, because so many of us are drawn to chips and things that might not be good for us and processed foods, and bringing in whole foods that might naturally be salty, such as sea vegetables. Satisfies our salty cravings and gives us minerals and acts as a detoxifier and a cleanser.
Wow. So each season covers a different organ?
Exactly. Usually a pair. So we have bladder, kidneys, adrenals, but also our bones in the winter. And sea vegetables are rich in calcium, which is good for our bones. In spring, it's known as the upward energy, right? Think of sprouting.
Things growing.
And that's our liver and gallbladder, the sour taste. And so that's what we'll get, like, the bitters and the chives and dandelions and that kind of thing. Summer is expansive. It's the fire element. And that's our heart and intestines. And we have the bitter taste there. And hot and red are associated with it. Late summer is the downward energy. Think of, kind of like a gathering time. It's the earth and soil element, and that's our stomach and spleen and the sweet taste. And then autumn is the gathering energy, the metal element, and a large intestines and lungs are associated with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if it's winter, we should only be eating the things in the winter.
No,
section?
but that should be a focus. So you don't want to get too rigid like that. So, edible sea vegetables, black rice. So we have all sorts of different kinds of rices and barleys. So this is a dish made with black rice and black soybeans, and I brought purple barley. But it doesn't mean that you can't have regular rice or soba noodles, which are made out of buckwheat, and buckwheat's associated with this time of year. So then you just want to have some berries. Think I made a fudge dish made out of adzuki beans. You could make it out of black beans, burdock root, beets. If you're doing vegetables, we have purple potatoes.
Ooh.
This is a black radish from a local farm.
A black radish.
Whoever knew, right?
It's massive.
And it's beautiful. And so it's just looking for things like that and incorporating them into our dishes. It doesn't mean you have to have only those things.
Huh. So I could eat something from summer, or I could eat because I don't really see where would I have a salad? Where would I have probably not a cheeseburger to be found on this at all.
No cheeseburgers, no. I teach vegan and I'm following a vegan class, but I'm glad you brought that up because part of macrobiotics has to do with following, a seasonal schedule and eating as whole foods as possible, but also understanding that there's the yin and yang energies in everything.
Oh.
And so I focus on the food energy. And so meat is in the yang, right? So anything that's meat or eggs, cheese, that kind of thing. And some meats can be over in the yin, so everything has both energies. But yin, you often find the tropical fruits, sugars, alcohol, dairy, that kind of thing. And so, you'll just think if you're craving a cheeseburger, then you have the meat, and then you put cheese and a bun on it, and that's giving it the yin, so that kind of makes it more complete. If you go out for a steak, you sometimes crave potatoes or a beer or a glass of wine, and that's you naturally trying to balance things. So in macrobiotic ways, not all macrobiotics are vegan. A lot of them eat fish and some eat chicken and eggs and things. But what they'll do is they'll try to balance out. So they'll look at what they're eating and try to balance their entire meal with both the energies and the flavors. And that's where you bring in whole grains, and then nuts and seeds and vegetables are more in the middle. And eating that way is said to make you feel more balanced, less emotional mood swings, that kind of thing.
So this is really something to look into.
It's fascinating. It really, I self-taught years ago. I had, the kids were young, and I was working with a nurse whose son was in medical school, and he came home talking about macrobiotics, how everything happens on a cellular level, and yada yada. And again, this was 20 years ago. I didn't have the internet, so I went to a local bookstore, found a couple books, self-taught, and had radiant health following the diet. And so then after, saving money and raising my kids, I started taking classes and certification programs, and it really is fascinating. And it's a lifelong study. And it's, it's honoring your own intuition and how you feel after you eat something.
Huh. Wow. It sounds really complicated.
It can be, but it can also be the most simplistic thing in the world. So what I've done and what I encourage other people to do is learn, read and take classes and learn, follow what interests you, and then adapt it to what feels right intuitively, whether it's, a daily practice or a cooking or going out to a restaurant, choosing something, and then pay attention to how you feel.
Huh. Is it complicated to cook these things?
It's really not. I think it's simple because you're dealing with whole foods. So I've eliminated all the meat and salmonella issues, right? So so I'm dealing with vegetables and grains and nuts and seeds, and then you follow simple recipes and then just play in the kitchen and see what makes sense to you.
So what would we do with the black radish?
That's a black radish.
That doesn't look quite like the one you put in the salad.
I know, it almost looks like a turnip, but and it's huge, and it's from a local organic farm, and I'm not even sure why they're this big, and I didn't even know that they existed until this year. But that could be in a salad, but in the winter we don't eat as much raw things if you're following a macrobiotic diet. So a radish cooked in a soup is really sweet. A radish baked in a casserole type dish or a baked dish turns sweet. So I might chunk that up with some other root vegetables and some cabbage if I wanted that. I might put it in a miso soup or another kind of vegetable soup and have sweet chunks of that. Radish is very good of purifying and helping you detox.
So basically, Are we looking at the principle of food being used as medicine?
Yes, I am fascinated by that. So I am fascinated by the healing power of foods and how we can feel satiated if we eat a well-rounded diet with a lot of different flavors, but keep it as whole food as possible. I mean, we all like our junk food, but we don't always feel good after we eat it.
Now, when you say whole food, what do you mean by that?
So as little processing as possible. So as many fruits and vegetables as you can get, right? And then, beans, it's okay to use canned beans. Sea vegetables, when we buy them, are dried, so they're processed a little bit, but they're not processed it's not like eating a bag of Dorito type of chips or a candy bar that has a whole bunch of different things in it. And in macrobiotic philosophy and practices, you're not using refined sugar. So everything is made, it's fruit juice sweetened or sweetened with dates or sweetened with...
I do love dates.
Yes, dates, and maple syrup, local sugars, something like maple syrup or brown rice syrup, that kind of thing.
So if you're diabetic, maybe...
It's a great diet for diabetes because you're not going to add a lot of sweeteners, right? And so if you're checking your blood sugar, you're going to minimize, your intake of fruits and watch that. But grains have fruit, so grains actually fall under the sweet taste, and grains should be a main part of our diet. Most people think that, I have
even
to
though
avoid
you think
the carbs.
Yeah.
But they're actually good, and you don't have to eat, 3 cups of rice, a half a bit of rice. I mean, a little bit of this is basically rice and beans with a salad dressing on it, or not a salad dressing, but a dressing that is sweet tasting, and it just pulls it all together. And I took a class in Ayurveda and studied the 6 tastes, so that, and if you bring in, all different tastes together, not necessarily always in one meal, but throughout the day, you'll feel more satiated.
Wow. So can we go back to that that one that has the eaten for each of the seasons? So in spring you've got liver and gallbladder. So is that the only time you're dealing with liver and gallbladder? Is then?
No, that's a great question. So they're just in focus, and it's a time of year where if you're going to have any kind of imbalances, they might show up there. So we just finished autumn, and so that's associated with large intestines and lungs, and a lot of people have early colds in the fall. Think late fall, just before the holiday season. People will have, they might be constipated, and they'll think it's because they're eating too much, sugar and cookies perhaps, or they'll have the cold or the flu, and it'll showcase it as bronchitis or a sinus infection. And a lot of us grew up hearing it's because it's the change of season, because it's cold outside, and it's really because we probably came into the season out of balance and not our healthiest. And so if we concentrate on some root vegetables and onions and garlic and that kind of thing, which is natural in this area anyways, we can strengthen those things, and then that leads us to the next season. And so, each season that we take care of our health, we're stronger for the next one, and they're all interconnected. So this kind of almost looks like a loop.
Yeah.
But if you look at a traditional Chinese medicine version, it'll also often be in star form, and where they have lines that are intersecting, and to show that everything is supporting each other. So it's a great question, but yeah, we have to think of our liver all the time. But in the spring, a lot of the foods we eat that are naturally growing, especially here in the Northeast, are what nourish our liver and our gallbladder.
So this is happening whether we're conscious of it or not.
Exactly, and it's fascinating. And the more I study it and read about it, the more I'm like, why didn't they tell us this back when we were 5 years old?
Well, you know?
Yeah, it's exciting, and I've always loved to cook. I've always, I grew up with a mother that liked to cook, and a grandfather who had his own diner. They didn't cook like this. They were traditional meat and potato type people, but I spent time overseas, and it speaks to me, and it makes sense, and I've felt my best when I've followed it.
Wow, this could be like a 3-hour show.
Yes, it's exciting. It could be a lifetime show, right?
Well,
so I hope you go out and you start reading up on things and see what makes sense to you.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm intrigued actually. So a running theme on this show is my relationship with food. I'm gluten-free now. I'm supposed to limit my dairy. I have, a high blood pressure, high cholesterol. By the grace of God, the sugars are staying where they need to stay. I don't know how, but they are. But so how would I approach this diet with these limitations?
So they're not even limitations. I would have you think of them as your body speaking to you and communicating with you and saying that you need to start changing things. I've also battled high blood pressure, and I have been able to actually completely eliminate breast cysts by following this. So
wait.
I've had fibroids, which this has helped. It didn't get rid of all of them, but it helped reduce them. I've had sleep issues, insomnia, and following a natural diet as much as possible. Even if you just decide that you're going to have half a cup of brown rice several times a week and eat more seasonal vegetables, that'll make a huge difference in your life. It really, really, truly will.
Wow.
And my struggle with teaching people is that part of, as a teenager, I lived in Japan for 4 years and had the opportunity to visit Hong Kong and China. So some of the dishes that are natural to macrobiotics are also traditional in Japan. So some of it was, kind of comfort food for me. I love soy sauce and soba noodles and tofu and miso soup. But not everything has to have that, that slant to it. So like for you, I made today this is actually sea vegetable.
Now.
So that's actually a sea vegetable.
A sea vegetable.
Called agar-agar, and it's in flake form, and that's simply agar-agar flakes and juice, and that's all it is.
Isn't that from chemistry or biology?
Didn't we grow
things in that?
No, I think that was something different.
Okay.
I don't know. But,
so which is that? Can I try it now?
Yeah, so this one, that's a sweet cherry juice, or sour cherry juice and apple juice mixture.
Oh. Give this a taste. Look at me. I'm going to eat some. What is it again?
So it's called Canton. So
Canton?
Kanten. And it's simply agar-agar flakes with your juice of choice.
Oh my God, it's like a Jell-O.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's used as a vegan Jell-O substitute. It has a gelatin form. They even call it a gelatin flake. It's said to help cleanse out your intestines.
I need to have some.
Yeah, reportedly helps the body rid itself of cholesterol.
Really good.
It's delicious, and you can make it with. You can add fruit to it. You can put it in a parfait glass and layer it with your favorite non-dairy.
This is delicious.
Topping. It's nice all year long.
What is this?
Really
a
nice.
Seaweed?
That's a sea vegetable. Yep. Yeah.
Look at that.
So I like to share things like this with
Wow.
people because when you think of sea vegetable, you think of your sushi nori rolls. So that snack there is made out of your typical nori seaweed with sesame seeds, but there's also some soy sauce and maple syrup in it. But not, and then I brought other, like dulse is a seaweed that you can eat.
Just like that?
You can put it in sandwiches. So instead of like a BLT, you could have a DLT with dulse.
What is that? Is that very salty?
It's very salty.
Is it seaweedy
Yep.
like that?
Similar, and it has a reddish hue to it, and it's chewy. So you want to like to cook it. Kelp, we can cook it with beans, also known as kombu. It'll soften beans and rice when you cook it.
Oh.
It's also used when you make a soup base.
Kelp.
Loaded with minerals and calcium and.
Well, what about if you have high blood pressure? There's a lot of salt in that.
You have to be careful. So if you were going to use the kelp like in soup and beans, you just want literally like a stamp size piece. And if you're having other sea vegetables, 3 times a week is good if you're making a dish. If you make that snack, I could eat that whole plate, right? And I have to be careful not to, So you just want a little bit. But it's same like if you buy a bag of potato chips, you're not supposed to eat the whole bag. Right.
Well,
right.
I don't know about that.
So, but a lot of us have that salty craving.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that craving is your body telling you that you're missing something else.
Really?
And so then, decide on where your salt flavor is going to come from, but then try to balance out your rest of your meal and your day with other things. Grains are a great balancer.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. What is this? That little confession? Let me clean this
here,
spoon off. Oh, yeah.
that is a adzuki bean chocolate mousse.
Adzuki bean?
Adzuki beans.
Now, what's an adzuki bean?
So that is a.
Oh, that smells good.
It's a bean, and you could make that with a black bean also. But it's common in Japan. It's actually reddish, and it's one of the lowest beans in fat. Super high in protein. It's bean with cacao.
Oh
and
God.
Unsweetened jelly.
Oh, my
And
God.
a little bit of almond flour and almond extract.
Oh, that is good.
And that's it. And so that is, a little bit processed because I used canned beans and jelly or sugar-free jelly and cacao powder. But what a decadent dessert.
Listen, you'll have to pry this from my cold dead hands.
And you're supposed to.
This is delicious.
You're supposed to avoid dairy, and here it is. It's dairy-free desserts. It's great for kids. Both these dishes, like the
and this is healthy. There's not.
You're getting a load of protein, a load of fiber.
Oh my God.
Even the cacao has minerals in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the only sugar. Oh, there's dates in there too. So dates and sugar-free Jello.
Dates are a good source of iron.
They
right?
are. And
I've been eating dates
They won't
lately.
spike your blood sugar.
My God.
Having some of that is not going to spike your blood
I just
sugar.
can't sit here and feast. That is. I'm going to finish that in a bit. That's delicious.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Now, beans and chocolate, a little flour, some jelly makes this deliciousness? Mm-hmm. My God.
It's just a matter of experimenting and playing
And
in
you're
the
just throwing
kitchen.
it all in a food processor and calling it a day.
Yep, literally. And then you bake it for 30 to 40 minutes.
My God.
Yeah.
And what is that?
So this was black soybeans and black forbidden rice are very popular in Japan, and black soybeans are considered in the Japanese culture a revered and good luck food for the new year. So this was this was like an example of a dish we made for our New Year's Day, and then I just seasoned it with a marinade, and I cooked the black forbidden rice separately and the black soybeans separately. Of course, black falls into our winter.
All of this is black here. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I can't wait. It looks like baked beans almost.
It's very similar to baked beans.
Look at this.
And you could dress that up. You could chop up some avocado. You could add some greens to it.
This is a good time right here. This is a good time.
You could just lay that on top of a bed of steamed, greens. It would be beautiful as a dish for your dinner. You could even roll it up in a wrap if you wanted to.
You could have greens.
Of course, you can have anything you want, but you should just be aware of this, especially if you're not feeling your best.
Pickles.
pickles are very common. They're salty, right? And then also think of the olden days where pickling was used when there wasn't refrigeration. So pickles were very common.
Good. And this is healthy eating.
It is healthy eating, and isn't it delicious?
It really is. This is incredible.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
But it's chocolate pudding, and it's probably like actually good for me than just a recreational kind of snack.
Yes. Because you're getting the protein and the fiber. And you're not
and this
spiking
isn't
your
really
blood
hard
sugar.
to make. It's not hard to make
it's
at all.
Super easy.
And you can have tasty Jell-O like this.
Yep.
Wow.
All year long.
This is amazing. Look at that. What is your last?
So my last one. So
Because we're just about out of time.
I tell people that I'm a vegan, whole foods, plant-based chef, and they roll their eyes and they picture lettuce or vegetables.
I see the bacon.
So I had made this. So we have cake. That's a carrot cake. This is like a sushi rice that I make. So it's like a sushi scramble. This is my version of an egg muffin without an egg. It's tofu. And I layered it. There's coconut bacon on top.
Coconut bacon?
Oh, it's the best.
Come on.
It's the best.
Wow.
Yeah. And, and then stir fries that don't have to have meat in it. That's a
edible
tofu,
flowers?
Edible flowers and tofu pudding. I'm also a certified herbalist, and I love to garden, so I love bringing in wild edibles and culinary herbs and edible flowers. It's fun. I decorated this with edible flowers.
Wow. I'm going to have you on my show again. We're going to have to do a whole
do a summer one.
part 2, 3, and 4 here. All right. Well, we're just about out of time, and thank you for coming and teasing us with all this wonderfulness and this great information. And
I love to share my
this deliciousness
ideas.
here. All right. Well, thank you for watching Time for Healing. I'm going to finish this right up, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.